Hello, my name is James Hamilton, but everyone called me Jim. I was born on February 25th, 1914. I was called after my father, James Hamilton. My mother was Janet Hamilton. My mother had 11 children, but only 6 of us lived past our first year. I was the youngest. I had 4 big sisters and 1 big brother. We all lived in the house where I was born, 9 New Bridge Street, just at the bottom of the High Street. I can't really remember that house though, because when I was 5 years, we moved to Stone Cottage on the Belial estate just outside here, where my father worked as a chauffeur for the Coates family, who owned Belial House and the estate. There were hardly any cars in here in those days. I grew up and went to school in Alloway, and when I left school, I became a labourer. I was still living with my mother and father when I met Jean Simpson from Turbolton, or Turboughton as we called it. Jean and I got married in April 1937 at the Crown Hotel in Turbolton, and we settled there. Jean worked as a servant until our children came along. We had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, who we called James after my father and me. Soon after war broke out, I joined the army, the Royal Scots Fusiliers to be more precise. The Royal Scots Fusiliers were almost all recruited from southwest Scotland. We were based at the barracks on Ayrshire, and that's where we do our training. I was in the 1st Battalion. We replaced the original 1st Battalion, who had been more or less wiped out at Dunkirk in 1940. On the 28th April 1942, we set sail from Gourock. This was very exciting for us because most of us had never left Scotland before. We stopped first at Freetown in Sierra Leone, where Britain had a big naval base, and then at Durban, South Africa. Just a week after we left Scotland, we reached the island of Madagascar. Madagascar at that time was a French colony, and when France surrendered to Nazi Germany, the island of Madagascar became very important to our enemies, especially the Japanese. They used Madagascar's ports as bases for their ships and submarines, and from there were able to control the Indian Ocean. It was our job to capture Madagascar, starting with the port of Diego Suarez. This was called Operation Ironclad. We landed on the island from an amphibious craft, and 3 days of fierce fighting took place before we captured the port. Between the 5th and 7th May 1942, I was killed along with 38 other members of the Royal Scots Fusiliers. I was 28 years old. I am buried in the Diego Suarez Cemetery, and my name is also inscribed in the War Memorial in Alloway, and on my mother and father's gravestone in Alloway Churchyard.